The model is, let's show a pathway to a multi-million ounce deposit. Obviously, I'm not going to build a mine, but I have Tritium right there. I have SCOT there. Those are two great people that when the market turns around should be interested. And if not, it actually may look good to someone who wants something standalone.
Right now, it just feels like 200 other gold explorers in Canada. So what are you going to be doing? What's the focus of that money? Welcome to Crux Investor. First of all, thanks so much for watching this video. If you like it, give us a thumbs up and do leave your comments below. It just helps us understand the sorts of questions you'd like us to be asking and your thoughts on the video and how we can improve the product. And if you haven't already done so, please click the button in the corner of the screen to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to see more videos like this, click the notification bell. We spoke earlier today to Brad Rourke, who's the CEO of Scottie Resources. They are a Canadian explorer. We talked to them about their success of last year, which has enabled them to get $2 million worth of Sprott money. And today they announced a second placement where they are in the process of raising another $2 million to be able to deliver their drill program for this year. It talks about their business plan and a number of other topics. Take a look in the description below. Anything interests you in particular, click on the relevant timestamp. That'll take you to that part of the video. So let's hear what Brad had to say. Hey Bradley, how are you doing, sir?
I'm well, thank you. And yourself?
Not bad, not bad. You look like you're up a mountain.
Good. I am. I got a little green screen back here, but I'm sitting on top of my Bitter Creek property overlooking the town of Stewart, British Columbia, and that's the Portland Canal. Just it's kind of one of the properties in question. So
beautiful.
It's kind of a neat little thing, technology. Even I figured out how to do that, and I can hardly send an email. So
that is not a bad place to work, right? Look at that view. Well, look, Brad, why don't we kick off? Give us a 1-minute overview of the project, and I'll take it from there.
Sure. So the property in question, or the project's the old past producing Scottie Gold Mine. Scottie was a producing gold mine from, let's call it 1981 to 1984. It produced a ½ ounce per ton, and it's in the prolific Golden Triangle. I kind of live in the area. I've raised my family in a little town called Smithers, which is in northern British Columbia. That's how I got aware of the project. And for the viewers, and it would be sandwiched in between Tritium, which is the Bruce Jack mine, and SCOT. And so I've got a really nice accumulated land position over the last 5 years in between those two properties.
Okay, brilliant, brilliant. So I'm always interested to find out what the management team have set out to do. So what type of company are you? So you've got to walk into this with a game plan, right? So what's your game plan?
Well, so my game plan, and again, we've been checking boxes. So this is going into my 5th year. As I just said, I got interested in the Scottie Gold Mine because it produced a ½ ounce a ton, and then just kind of was orphaned, or no one really worked on it since, a little bit of work was done, but 1984. In 2015, Tritium was building a power line that was going right through that property. So my business plan for the last few years was to consolidate a very difficult area to consolidate. I mean, everybody knows about the Golden Triangle. And so up until maybe the last year, I was just trying to piece together a patchwork of properties, because it was all, everybody had a little postage stamp waiting for their ship to come in. And so it's taking 4 years, but basically I was a consolidator of the area. I think I can successfully say I've done that consolidation. We took a really, really good geological team as a consultant. I had equity exploration do all my technical work. So what we did when the market didn't care is we relogged core. We had structural geologists go up and reinterpret this deposit that had never really done, modeled it for the first time. And so for the last few years, that's what we were doing. We were accumulating land. We were coming up with a new thesis, and then we implemented our ideas in 2019 for the first time, and we drilled a small little drill program. And we were fortunate enough that we hit 3 for 3, or 3 distinct different zones, and all 3 zones had extraordinary results as far as we were concerned. We were hoping that if one of those zones hit, we would show that we have a good handle on how we think that this deposit sits. We were lucky enough that we hit on all 3. So I think now we'd be calling ourselves going into 2020. We're a pure exploration company now. We've accumulated the land. We've cleaned up an old company. I didn't start this company. I took it over, and I was an investor in it, and ended up just taking it over because I wasn't happy the direction that the company was going, and that's a whole other story. But now I could say we're a pure exploration company. We get to follow up on those 3 zones, and we did a whole bunch of surface work on all these new lands that we put together, and have a whole bunch of encouraging smoke to follow up there as well.
Right. Okay. So, what's your background, Brad? Before we go on.
Well, it's funny. I've got a pretty diverse background. I'm a businessman. I've always worked in the resource business. In my 20s, I worked in this area. I was a claim staker. I staked Comess mines. I ran the avalanche program at Comess for a few years. But I was basically, in my 30 years ago, I was in the mining service sector. And when mining stopped in British Columbia, 1998, windy, craggy, right before the .com bust, I moved from Smithers, British Columbia, northern British Columbia, to Calgary and got into business. And I started off, I ran an online grocery store. I very entrepreneurial, but I ended up getting into the financial business and started doing real estate and energy deals in Alberta. And it was a function of being in the right place at the right time. And I ended up being on the front end of some of the second largest IPO in the history of Canada. Is I actually orchestrated, and I went back to Smithers in 2006 for no other reason, but I wanted to raise my kids in a small town, and that's how I got on here. So I've just been a serial entrepreneur. I've been lucky enough that I've had a few tombstones or a few notches on my belt that ended up being really good, and maybe I was right place, right time. I've been very lucky. This is the first deal I've done since 2005, I guess. This would be the very first thing I've done. I basically was just raising the kids. I was lucky enough to raise the kids for 10 years and coach sports, and my wife and I were just living in the community. I didn't mean to get into this, but now here I am 5 years later, fully immersed in the junior mining.
Is this your first, this is obviously then your first mining deal in terms of running the mining company?
First mining deal that I've ran. Now, I've been, I've invested in lots of resource. I have an understanding of commodities. It's the very first time I've ran one of these junior companies, but
okay.
Yeah,
and so
I never meant just.
So what's your position in this? How many shares do you hold, and how much money have you put in?
Well, it gets less and less every day because I keep diluting myself. But to answer your question, I mostly self-funded it for the first few years. When people want to see boxes checked and, does a guy have skin in the game? Well, it's not exactly $1 million, but I was at $1 million of my kids' money even a year ago. But I was lending the company money because I was already at 19% and I couldn't break this 20% threshold. But after I brought Eric Sprott in, I'm down. I own 12% of the company, and I was lending the company money. I paid myself back $150,000. It's in my financials. So I'm in hard dollars, 800,000 plus. I don't really, I didn't take a salary for the first 2 years. I take a little bit of a salary. I pay my geologist more than I pay myself at the moment, but okay. And I never paid a commission on any money I've ever raised until just recently when I went to Beaver Creek, because I just self-funded it and people who knew me from past deals, and it was a concept. But now we're running. We've hit the ground running. Brilliant.
Okay, and we'll talk about the announcement today about the $2 million in a second. But so, if you're the businessman, the entrepreneur, who is the geologist and the guy who knows what they're doing in terms of drilling, etc.?
Well, and you're exactly right. You wouldn't want me picking drill holes, but so I'll back that up. So back in, I guess 2017, when I was stubborn enough to think I could take over one of these little junior mining companies, I knew I'm a salesman, right? I can follow the bouncing ball. And if I sit on the shoulders of really strong people, I'll have no troubles getting into whatever doors I need to. And that was my business plan. So I immediately hired a company called Equity Exploration to do my technical work. So I inherited with the project 20 banker boxes of data. It was all still sitting in Imperial, because back then it was still feet and inches in the 80s. And so I had equity exploration, model it, do all that technical work and come up with theories. But within that program, there was one of the consultants in 2018, and I was an operational CEO. I slept 60 days in a sleeping bag in 2018 on site. And I had equity sent me a bunch of scientists, and this one guy in particular who was doing my relogging program. So we went and relogged all the core. We did all the things you're supposed to do. And I could tell he's very interested in the geology, but his real job, he was the program head at BCIT, 37-year-old PhD. But when I was in the mountains with him, I'm going, this guy's not academia at all, right? He loves to go rappelling and hang from cliffs and mountaineering. And much like when I was younger, I was a big skier, and I'm going, why are you in academia? And he goes, well, every time I graduated, there was a downturn. So when I got my PhD, it was 2013. Again, the market crashed. And so he ended up teaching a class at BCIT, and 2 years later, he was running the whole program. So he has since left and has joined me. He's my VP exploration. We still have equity engineering or exploration consultants. Their fingerprints are all over everything, helping with the drill program. So from that point of view, they're the front lines of the technical work. But then if you look at my board of directors, I've got two super strong guys, Ernie Mast, who's a big C-suite mining executive, a COO of New Gold, built Cobre Panama, been built 3 mines and ran 4 personally. He's on my board. And then I'm also have John Williamson on my board, who's a junior mining, very successful junior mining executive, has lots of success under his belt. He is currently with a company called Benchmark Metals. He has Altiplano. And so he's my advice I take on the junior mining side. So I've got a good technical team on the board side that understands junior mining and understands bigger mining. And then I have Thomas in equity running the day-to-day technical work.
Okay, so let's get back to what it is that you're trying to do. So you've done a little bit of drilling. You know what you're capable of today, and you've brought on some people to advise you, right? So now might be a good time to talk about the money and why you raised it, because that might help answer what I asked you, which was, what are you trying to do with the business today?
Sure. So it is my intention let's say for 2020, is to show a pathway to a multi-million ounce deposit. If you were to ask me that question 2 years now, obviously business plans evolve all the time, but I'm an exploration company. Although I'd like to note that Scottie Gold has a permit. There's a mill there, there's power. I don't want people to confuse to think I'm going mining, because I'm not. But up until, if you asked me a year and a half ago, my whole business plan was predicated on SCOT getting a mill going just 10 kilometers down the road, following that very quickly. And I thought I could show at least 500,000 ounces of high-grade gold on surface, and I was going to one day sell that to SCOT. But as it turns out, I've accumulated way more land than I ever thought, and I thought was impossible to get. And so now I have a district scale piece of property, which I didn't have a year and a half ago. But now I've assembled quite an attractive piece with extremely exciting geology. But again, the model is, let's show a pathway to a multi-million ounce deposit. In order to get a resource on these things, that's a lot of drilling right now. I want to just show that, we put a theory together. We'll prove that theory up with the truth machine, with the drill. And our first round was very successful. And then obviously I'm not going to build a mine, but I have Pretium right there. I have Ascot there. Those are two great people that when the market turns around should be interested. And if not, it actually may look good to someone who wants something standalone.
Okay, so you've announced this 2 million placement. Is that closed yet?
No. I just I wrote the news release last night at 4:30, so I haven't even got the sub agreements out to the people. But I can tell you that the interest was better than I expected, so I'm happy for that. Knock knock on wood. You never count until the checks are in the bank. But I mean, it looks, I was kind of, not that I was worried, but because of the environment, especially for us micro juniors, I was in no duress because Eric Sprott gave me a couple $1 million a couple months ago. So we were healthy that way, but I was going, I just wanted to show the market that we are drilling. We are following up with what we had last year. And I just wasn't sure how the market was going to react. I can see generalists kind of going into the major, the bigger companies, which is great because then, eventually I'm the last guy to eat as a junior exploration company. But I can say I'm very pleased with, the last 4 hours because my phone's ringing and a lot of people asking questions. So I'm feeling good. And then we just show the market that we're able to raise money. We are going to do our program, knock on wood, as long as the government allows me to do it and everything looks like it's a go. But
okay, so let me. I want to understand how the brain's thinking here. So Eric gave you a couple of $1 million bucks. When was that? Was it the beginning of the year?
Yeah, January 1st.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So he gave you that money. You obviously haven't burnt your way through that yet, but you want to get out to market again now, raise some more money. Is Eric going to come in that round, or is he going to be diluted?
I haven't checked the book. I've got somebody running that for me right now. I do know that the gentleman, the group that brought Eric Sprott to me in the first place are participating. I just can't speak for him. I haven't spoke to him personally. But I do know that side of the book is happy but I haven't seen any names yet. So right. I don't know. But I can promise you before I was going to announce this, he's the second largest shareholder in the company. I did kind of go, what do you, I was asking advice. He's not on my board, but I did ask his team going, hey, this is what I'm thinking. Much like I did a transaction a couple of weeks ago, I will always inform my second largest shareholder and because there's a lot of advice there and support that he can give me more so than just dollars. And so I'm happy to have that. So I can tell you everybody's happy. I don't know whose names are on any of the orders yet.
Okay, so tell me, what did you say to him? Because you must have said, here's my plan. You gave me $2 million. I'm getting another 2. Here's what I want to do with it. What was that?
I think you're on the answer is this. You're on the right track. Don't blow your brains out. Don't think you have too much money, right? That was, he's very, very direct. He's, there's not a lot of flash there. But the advice was, yeah, I like what you're doing. Don't blow your brains out. Obviously, I'm managing it. And that had more to do with the transaction I did. So I renegotiated all my land deals when we were in the eye of the storm mid-March. And I had option deals because, again, I've been putting this piece of land. I renegotiated everything and I ended up saving, if you look back, the second news release back, I saved in my mind $1.5 million and now I own most of that land, all 100%. He liked that idea as long as I didn't, because it was essentially his money I was spending.
Right.
So he was happy with that. And then this one that we're doing that we just announced this morning coincides with, yeah, we've got a program. We're going to do our program. We're going to try and always do what we say we're going to do. There's no flack at all. So
I say, so that's the bit I want to help with. Okay, so because right now it just feels like 200 other gold explorers in Canada and elsewhere. So as an investor, I want to understand what you're going to do that's going to be different, or what you're going to do which is going to ensure the maximum chance of success. I appreciate exploration is risky. So what are you going to be doing? What's the focus of that money?
Well, for this season, we've got it laid out on our presentation, which you can go onto our website, but it's not that complicated. We are going to do 5,000 meters of drilling, of which 2/3 of that drilling is going to follow up on the 3 zones that we hit last year. So we have a lot more confidence in that part of the program than we ever did last year. So, and then a lot of the surface sampling that we found, we had great results on new lands that really, really tie in, hopefully, to the Scotty. We'll do 1/3 of a drilling, and that's called the Domino Zone. We've been watching SCOT very closely, have been having great success doing IP on select targets. So we've already contract. We're not going to reinvent anything. They're having success at it. Same company. We're in the queue. We're going to do a bunch of IP on select targets. Way back when, or not way back, a year and a half ago when I took over the Summit Lake properties, Ron Nadalinsky was nice enough that he gave me an old EM survey that he had for the area. And we know, and so that's where we went and looked at the Summit Lake. We kind of went down these crosshatches on the map. We never had the data. We just had a map, and extraordinary what we found there. So we're going to fly. And that EM was done in 1984, I believe, in around the 80s sometime. So we are going to run a high level, low EM survey because it really, really lights up at Scottie Gold, and Thomas is excited with that. We'll continue to do some mapping. There's the Grand Duke Tunnel. The Grand Duke's an old copper mine from the 60s that I work out of their camp. Well, on these new lands that I have that is attached to Scotty, there's a 5-kilometer tunnel that goes right through our property. I didn't have access to that last year, so I don't. But we're going to go map that tunnel this year. The company Castle's been nice enough that we struck a deal that they're going to allow me to get in there and look at that geology. It's a 5-kilometer inverted drill hole that we can't find any information on. So we're excited to get at that. I've got a little tailings project, again, not to confuse you, but we've been working 2 years. There's a bunch of tailings there. We figure we've done 2 years worth of work, an awful lot of work, benchmark recoveries. That I'm not in the tailings business, but there could be a non-dilutive financing in there, and we could realize we have a notice of working with the government. Again, I still have to deal with the government, so you never know. There's no guarantees there, but so far so good. So that's, really the important part is we'll follow up on the drilling, go drill the domino zone, continue mapping, continuing what we've done on our southern pieces of land, which is not necessarily the Scottie. We are, it's not as advanced as Scottie. We'll just do some mapping and come up with theories there, do some geochem, geophysics.
Tell me about the tailings. I'm interested in tailings because it seems like it should be, as you say, licenses and permits allowing, because it's effectively a cleanup job as well, isn't it? So how hard is it to get the prerequisite permissions to actually do something with that? And what do you know about it, the tailings?
Well, we could talk for about 2 hours on it because I put a lot of work.
Try 3 minutes. You got 3 minutes.
Amazing how many, but I'll condense it to this. So in the past, when Scottie Gold operated, they were dumping the tailings into a lake. The lake is no longer there because the Salmon Glacier has receded and then the lake is gone. So these tailings are exposed. But I didn't drain that lake. That happened 15, 20 years ago. And the tailings were this thing went bankrupt, taken over. They're not my liability whatsoever, unless I put a rubber tire on them. So I've never done that. I'm allowed to go, we've been taking water samples and we're trying to understand them. So we started this, I've done 2 seasons of work. So I've done over 100 samples all the way to the bottom. We've done a volume estimate. We've done our own internal benchmarks, and then we have independent benchmarks to what we could recover from them. I've spoken with the gold commissioner and said, look, this is a cleanup. I'm not in the tailings business. That would be good for everybody involved, for us to clean up. I would love to clean it up. I mean, for years I've been just cleaning up the general site and putting doors on adits, making things safe. We all agree that it should be done. But if you tell me I'm going to have liability for it, I'm in the gold business. I'm not in the tailings business. I'm not interested. So we're working towards that. Like I say, the gold commissioner and I, we've submitted applications. It makes sense to us. We are looking at whether we can make a concentrate of it, take the sulfides out of it, dry it, stack, fill in old adits. But again, when we're dealing with the environment and the government, they hold the final say. But what I can tell you is this: is that we believe the average grade of my whole tailings is 2.2 grams. It's 6 grams at the very bottom of the pile and 0.7 on the top. And we've done like a proper survey and studies for 2 years. We believe we can recover 80% of that. So, and we think historically there's 196,000 tons produced. But we think with the rake, and we did a volume estimate, we're conservative, maybe it's 160,000 tons at 2.2 grams. I'm not allowed to say numbers but it's not hard to work it out. And we've already gone as far as talk to buyers in Taiwan. I know how many truckloads it would take me to get it to Stewart, and I know what it costs to put it on a bulk ship. And we've talked with the Susis and the same place that's moving concentrate from the Pritium out there. And because it's just 40 kilometers down the road, 45 kilometers down the road, there's a port. And so it's 165 truckloads. We've done all the work again, but it's not all in my control. But we're working with the government because it'd be nice to clean that up. It'd be nice for the company to realize a little bit of the value for doing that. And then it's just less dilutive. Just more drill holes.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, less dilution.
When does $4 million run out? When are you going to be diluting again?
Well, it's a very good question. And again, now we're getting into the dreaming part. I don't think I'll need to raise money for a very long time. And just stay tuned and you'll watch, and it'd be easy to read between the lines on that. But I have 22-cent warrants in the company that have an accelerator on at 29 cents. God willing, I think we get through that. That would add another $3 million to the company. I have again, I've got lots of CA signed. I'm looking for strategic partners. There's many ways to, I have enough shares outstanding. Again, if I started the company, it would be a lot tighter. I mean, I took over an existing company and every share I have, I bought. So I get uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable with the amount of shares outstanding, but even today I'm like, okay, more shares. But I would say that you're not going to probably see, after the next couple of weeks get done here and we'll close what we're doing, we could probably, unless somebody wants to do a major program next year, but we won't be needing to raise any money for the rest of this season. That's for sure.
Okay, that's good news.
We can do everything. We've got it budgeted, and we're, I think we're one of the few smaller micro juniors that are going, we're funded, right? And not everybody is. So we're feeling very lucky, blessed right now.
Okay, brilliant.
Yeah.
Brad, thanks so much for running through that. That's it's always exciting to talk to exploration companies and listen to their hopes and dreams about what will be. Do stay in touch with us and let us know how you get on with the drill program, and obviously, good luck with the closing of this placement. No,
I sure appreciate your time, and anybody watching, my phone number is on the website. We run this pretty lean and mean. If you have any questions, please feel free. Or I could do a virtual tour and I could take you through the mine and put a little bit more color if we had more time. But I certainly appreciate your time and thank you very much.